Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook Live. It is 3 o'clock. Find your center. And today I am going to answer some of your questions, and I'm going to go over abdominal separation with you so you know what it is, and if you have it, what you should do about it. Okay, if you guys have any questions for me and you're joining live, you can go ahead and write those in. I'm not going to know who it is unless you press that connect to StreamYard button, and then I'll know your name, but go ahead and write your questions. Okay, so today we're going to discuss abdominal separation and what that is. Okay, so I get questions about this a lot. I'm going to go to my screen share here to show you. All right. Okay, here we are. So when we're talking about diastasis recti, that's abdominal separation, here's what it looks like. Okay, so this is what moms will, they'll notice that they have some kind of a doming in their abdomen. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you could see that the rectus muscles on the left, they come together and there's this line down the middle from the top to the bottom, and the muscles are nice and approximated around that line. And on the picture on the right, there's this big like opening or gap, and that's what the abdominal separation is. And that can happen due to pregnancy. And a lot of times it just comes together on its own. And sometimes it will stick around for a bit after pregnancy, and we have to do some specific training to work on that. Okay, but actually all women have this during pregnancy. The research shows that at 35 weeks, 100% of women have this. So it is a normal thing. And in many women, it just works itself out on its own. And sometimes it doesn't. Okay, let's see if I have some other pictures. This is what it looks like. Okay, so in terms of knowing if you have this or not, look at your belly when you're doing different things, like when you're getting in and out of the bed, or if you're doing an exercise that's really hard, you might see something like this going on. And if you see that, then that's a pretty good indication that you have this going on. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, I'll make sure I've stopped my screen share. Okay, so how do you know if you have this problem? I'm gonna teach you right now how to feel if you have it. So first of all, you might have seen it, right? If you're just doing an exercise or getting in out of bed, you might just notice it. We're gonna go ahead and feel along this line. So I'm gonna show you on my body, you don't have to do it yet, but if I lift up my shirt and I show you, so from, this is called your xiphoid, like right when your ribs meet, all the way down to my pubic bone is down here, right? So from here to here, along that line that I just showed you, you're gonna touch it while you're doing a sit-up. So I'm gonna take my fingers, like 2 fingers, and during my sit-up, you're gonna see me just kind of push side to side on my tummy. And what I'm feeling for is 2 things when I do that. I'm feeling those edges of the muscle belly, so I'm seeing how many fingers I can get in there. Okay, so it might be that I can get 1, it might be 2 to 2.5 is normal, or it might be more than that, like you can get 3 or 4 fingers in, okay? And if you wanna tell me what you have, you could share it in the comments too. I'm gonna say, this is what I have, Marcy. I could speak to that a little bit. Now, the second thing that you're feeling for, and this is actually more important than the distance, is the depth. Okay, so you're also feeling when you put your fingers in there, how far down do they go? Okay, so what we're looking for, what's good, is that you feel a firmness with your fingers, kind of like a trampoline kind of feeling, okay, firm. If you feel with a real diastasis, you might feel like your fingers just kind of keep going until you get to that firmness. And if that's the case, I'm gonna ask you how many fingers. This is how we measure it in physical therapy. Is it like half a knuckle? Is it all the way to your first knuckle, second, or more? Okay, so let's go for it. You could watch me do this. I'm gonna get down on the floor. I'm gonna lay down like so. Okay, and I'm gonna show you my tummy. okay? And I'm gonna do a sit-up to the point that my tummy muscles, just when they start to activate, so it's not like a full sit-up, put my fingers here and I press. I press above my belly button, I press at my belly button, below the belly button, all the way to the pubic bone, and I'm feeling the edges of the muscle and if my fingers sink. And that's it, okay? So remember when you do this, that it is normal to have 2.5 fingers. What if your fingers sink pretty deep? Or what if you've seen this and you know this happens? We're gonna work on it in the class. So the exercises that we're doing do address this. So we work on your alignment, we work on these nice deep breaths, okay? You take a nice deep breath, it sends your breath down, it helps the pelvic floor relax, and then we work on contracting it. Okay, so Jessica says, I seem to be much deeper by my belly button. That's completely typical, Jessica, because that's kind of like our weakest point, because that's where the umbilicus is from when we were attached to our moms. So it's just a little bit of a weaker spot. A lot of women are weaker or deeper at the belly button. Okay, now when we're in class, we could talk about how to develop more tension there, where you feel like you're deeper. Okay, so usually the next question that comes up when I talk about this is, how do I know what exercises I should be doing for this? All right, so here's the thing, there's no like specific like one exercise. If it were so easy and I could just say, just do this 1 or 2 exercises and you're all good. I wish I could say that, but this is a lot trickier than that. It's tricky because everyone's body is a little bit different and everyone's recovery is a little bit different, and there's this range of normal, okay? But that said, when you exercise, what we're looking for is that you can develop tension along that line that you were just feeling. All right, so if you're doing an exercise and you see the doming, you're probably not developing good tension along that line because you're doming. And if you were to put your fingers in there, they'd probably sink, or you'd feel something kind of squishy feeling coming up. We don't want squishy. We would want to do exercises that help you feel tension. And the rehab is about like appropriately loading up that tissue so that your core heals and you could develop good tension. Okay, so kind of the protocol for working with diastasis is, I think about it kind of like a protocol. The first one is alignment. You want to have very good alignment. And that's why when we do exercises in our class together, I always kind of work on that first and give you some cues for that. Okay, so that said, like new moms might be standing, you know how new moms might stand kind of like belly out, kind of like you're still pregnant? A lot of us stand that way. I stand that way sometimes. I have to correct myself. I've had this problem myself. So if you do that, that loads up the tissue, not in a good way. So you want to be in good alignment. Then when you do your core, you want to take these nice deep breaths and you get your rib cage moving with the breaths. That's actually part of it because you want to get your rib cage stacked over your pelvis. And then we work your core. And when I say core, I'm talking about, I feel like I'm going to sneeze, excuse me. I have a huge sneeze. I'm sorry, guys. When I say your core, I mean your pelvic floor and your transversus muscle, which is that deep muscle in the front. Okay, so I talked about this in class. I didn't like the screen share. I'm going to show you another picture. What we do for diastasis is we train not so much this muscle. Okay, so this shows the diastasis. This shows that rectus muscle, that six-pack muscle. You work this when you do like sit-ups. We're not going to be doing sit-ups. We are going to be training this muscle. So this is the Transversus Abdominis, fancy name, but it's under the rectus. So if I were to like dissect that rectus and pick it up and look at what's underneath it, we would find this muscle. So you see this picture here, it kind of wraps around your body like a corset. See this? And then as it contracts, it connects right into that line, that linea alba. Okay, so when we're taking it, it wraps all the way around your back too. It provides stability for your back. So as we work on that, we help develop tension. Okay, are there any other questions about diastasis recti? You could just kind of ask me questions as they come up. I could talk about it for a really long time, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep this this Facebook to like no more than a half an hour. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to answer some questions that I got. And so I took pictures of the questions, so I'm just going to pull those up. You guys asked some good questions that were really fun ones, but my printer didn't work to print it out. Okay. Okay. Marcy, thank you for the link. I have a few questions. So this is from one of you guys. What's a realistic expectation for how long diastasis recti will last? That really depends. I mean, for some women, it just heals up on its own within 6 months. For some women that have it, they need to do more rehab on it. I've seen women where I do some exercises, I teach them how to connect with their pelvic floor, and boom, there's tension on the linea alba. For other people, it might take longer because there's other things going on. I do a lot of tissue release work around the abdomen and different things to know what's going on. So it could take a while. It's one of those things that it could take like a year to heal from, and it could just take a few exercises and boom, you've got improved tension. It depends on all these different factors. So I kind of have to break that down for each person. And then remember that it might last, you might continue to have a diastasis because it's normal to have up to 2 fingers. And as long as you can develop appropriate tension, you might have like a functional diastasis, and that's okay. Okay, I'm having a connection issue. Is this session being recorded? Yes, it's being recorded. It'll be on this Facebook group, and it'll also be on YouTube. So if you guys just find me, just look up my name, Marcy Silverberg, on YouTube. This is getting put on YouTube as we speak. And so if Facebook's not working for you, you could just go on YouTube right now, and you should even be able to talk to me over YouTube. So that's the good thing about this service that I'm using. Yeah, sure. Yeah, at least that's Marcy's plan. Yeah, okay. Where was I? Okay. This is a question from one of you guys. Do you have, I'll kind of read it out and then I'll answer the questions. Do you have any experience, knowledge about the pelvic floor and chakras? How are the pelvic floor muscles related to hips and low back health? One of my goals is to strengthen the pelvic floor and intercostal muscles so I can access them in my regular yoga practice. I'm not a runner, but I'm hoping to integrate a strengthening practice into my daily yoga meditation practice. I focused on stretching and yin yoga this year to recover from stress. I also hike. I find that my hips and hamstrings are tight. The exercises you gave us require a bit of stretching before I can do them. Can you recommend stages as I ramp up my yoga practice? Okay, there's a few questions in here, so I'm going to kind of go through this. First, do you have any experience or knowledge about the pelvic floor and chakras? Yeah, it's so cool. So the pelvic floor muscles you're located in your root chakra. Now, I took a little picture to kind of explain. This is an explanation of the root chakra. Okay, so the chakra are the energy systems of the body, starting with the crown, kind of goes down throat, heart, sacral, and then root chakra. Okay, so the very bottom at the base of your spine, right here, where your pelvic muscles are, right here, is your root chakra. The root chakra is located at the base of the spine. I'm reading this from a book I have. It provides the foundation on which we build our life, representing safety, security, and stability. Improved imbalances attributed would be scattered energy, anxiety, and fear. Do moms have these kind of things going on? Oh yeah, okay. So we're addressing the root chakra when we work on your pelvic floor. What that would mean energetically is feeling more stable, grounded, and connected with the earth. And this is why I kind of cue this a little bit in the meditation, because I'm very aware that we're working in the root chakra. And conversely, the pelvic floor muscles can be very tight. A lot of times they're tight, and that has to do with kind of an imbalance in the root chakra, right? So not feeling safe or secure, okay? Having anxiety or fear. And a lot of times around birth, there's kind of things held in this area. I call it the pelvic bowl because energy workers that I've studied with refer to this as the pelvic bowl, and you might hear me call it that in class. And so we could also work on clearing the pelvic bowl and letting go of things that we're holding on to that will help our connection into this area. And we can do that with stretches and massage work too, which kind of leads me into the second part of that question, which was, how are the pelvic floor muscles related to the hips and back health? They're like this. They're like very, very integral and related. So I kind of think about yoga, right? So if you do yoga and you're doing all these nice like hip opener stretches, right? Like child's pose, let's say in deep squats, you're stretching and opening your hips. Are you stretching and opening your back too? Absolutely, right? But you got the hips, you got the back, they're all working together. Are you stretching and opening your pelvic floor? Yep. In fact, a lot of stretches that I give for pelvic floor are like actually yoga poses. Like I love Happy Baby. It's just like a very basic pelvic floor stretch. So they're all working together. So all muscles, I'm looking for a balance. So when things function well in the body, there's a balance. Muscles are strong, but they're also pliable and they can stretch. Okay, so when you do yoga poses, you stretch these things out. And then when we do our pelvic floor exercises, you'll also feel that, you know, your transversus muscle is working. Your butt might come in. Your legs come in. Our muscles don't work in isolation. They all work together. So the pelvic floor absolutely works in a beautiful balance with your hips and low back. In fact, a lot of people that have low back pain, 90% of people with chronic low back pain have pelvic floor dysfunction. That's super interesting. Okay, so they absolutely work together. Okay, so the next thing that this person said is, my goal is to strengthen my pelvic floor and my intercostal muscles so I can access them in my yoga practice. Yeah, that's great. The intercostal muscles are part of the system too. So when we do the basic exercise, breathing, right? We just get nice and tall and just breathe. You're breathing into your pelvic floor. And when you breathe and you put your hands on your rib cage and they open, you're stretching your intercostal muscles. And when you exhale, you're contracting your intercostal muscles. Okay, so we're working them. And if there's anything tight there, let me know and we could work it in other ways. But that's that. I'm a runner and I'm hoping to integrate a strengthening practice into my yoga meditation practice. Well, you're not a runner. That's fine. You guys, if you're not a runner and you just go through these this protocol of exercises for running, you're going to be in such a good place, and it tests your body's ability to go back to any kind of impact sports. And I tell moms, you might not be a runner now, but wait till your baby is 2 years old. You're going to be a runner. Okay, we all have to run. We all have to run after our kids. We don't want to leak when we run after our kids. So we all have to run a little bit. It's very functional. And this class is going to help you for whatever the activity is that you want to go back to doing, because these are kind of very basic things that we're doing. Being able to balance on a leg, hop on a leg, it translates to many things, okay? I focused on stretching and yin yoga, okay? So she also says that your hips and hamstrings are tight. So I love to do myofascial work. Like I love to teach people how to massage things on your own. So if your hamstrings are tight, I bet a lot of you guys have tight hamstrings. I'm just going to show you something really quick. I use a lot of balls for myofascial release. So this is one of my favorite things ever. This is a yoga tune-up ball. If you Google yoga tune-up ball, these are not expensive. And I'm going to massage my hamstrings. I have a chair here, okay? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on the chair and I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to put it in the back of my thigh. And boom, I get this nice deep pressure on my back of my thigh, my hamstring, and I could strum my leg back and forth like this. I could go up and down. Okay, and then I could do all parts of the hamstring. I could do more down by the knee. I could do the middle. I could do all the way up by my thigh. And I could use bigger balls too. I have balls that are like, this is an alpha ball. It's really big. So that's one way you can massage your hamstring to loosen it up. And then it's always good to stretch after. So same thing with the chair. If I just kind of lean back, hold this chair, keep my legs straight, hands on the chair, knees straight, and just kind of lean in. Now I don't let my low back go like this. Keep it like that, knees straight, and there's a nice hamstring stretch. So this might be something for you to do before we start class, if you find your hamstrings are tight. I could talk for a long time about tight hamstrings. I think we all sit too much. We could ask, why are our hamstrings, so many of us have tight hamstrings. We probably sit too much. There might be other things going on. That might be something to explore. That's another question. Can you recommend any stages I should be aware of as I ramp up my yoga practice? I mean, not necessarily. There aren't any specific stages for ramping up your yoga practice. I just think with returning to anything after having a baby, just go slow and remember the warning signs, right? So if you're doing any kind of exercise and you feel pain anywhere in your body, that means you did too much. That's like your body giving you a signal that something is off and you need to change something. If you feel pressure or vaginal heaviness, back off. Sign that you did something. Slow it down a little bit. If you need help and it doesn't get better, reach out to someone like me, like a pelvic health professional. Otherwise, just go slow. I love yoga. I think it's awesome. I think twists came up in class. Like sometimes, like some of you moms were maybe afraid to do twists. Twists are great. I would just start, you would kind of start with some more easy things like floor stuff before you get to more vigorous standing and position changes, things like that. That's just kind of very basic advice. But there aren't any specific stages. So that's that. Okay, we have one more to go through and we'll see if I have any questions. Ask me any other questions. Doesn't look like I see any others. So, okay. Do you recommend the same metrics for working out with weights as running? Do you recommend the same metrics? I continued doing lower body weightlifting, nothing crazy heavy, until the week I gave birth, and I'd like to get back to it, but I'm worried that putting pressure down may make my prolapse worse. Yes, too much pressure down may make your prolapse worse. That's absolutely correct. I've been working hard to get back to running, and I hope I'll be able to start weights. Also, is there anything I should consider before starting the lower body weight work again? Okay, so if any of you, I think there are some people in the class that might have some prolapse. So prolapse means that you've got these like organs that live inside your pelvis, just so you guys know. So you've got your uterus, you've got your rectum, and you've got your bladder. And they could shift downwards a little bit from like down pressure from pregnancy and from childbirth. They need to kind of heal and they kind of come back up. So they could get a little bit descended. And then what you would feel if you have prolapse is a sense of like pressure, heaviness, vaginal dragging. It usually is worse at the end of the day. Okay, so if you know that you have prolapse and you want to get back into exercising, you don't want to do things that are going to make your prolapse worse. Okay, so if your body is giving you these signals, say you're doing something, you're lifting something, or you're exercising, and you're like, gosh, I feel more of these symptoms after doing that, then we want to look at that and change some things and look at that system. So everything we're doing in class is about, you know, that zipper exercise, like pulling the pelvic floor muscles in and up, and that supports the organs in the pelvic floor. But then if you do things like lifting and there's a lot of pressure down on them, then you could get that feeling again. So go slow. It's not to say that if you have a prolapse, you can't run or you can't lift weights. You can. It's another one of those things that this is very individual for each person. Okay, a lot of this stuff, when I actually work with clients, we come up with very individual strategies of what's going to work. But you shouldn't feel any pressure or heaviness, and definitely just start slow with the weights. And the same principles apply as what I was talking about before with diastasis. So you want to have really good alignment. And then when you start going to lift things, and guys, this could be your baby too. It could be your baby, or it could be that you're actually lifting weights. Really good alignment, and then using your breath strategy. Okay, I typically use something called blow as you go, meaning you start to exhale when you're lifting something heavy. That helps kind of hold everything up. Okay, and start training slow with the weights. Now, if you have prolapse, I brought something out to show you. So I'm not recommending this because I wouldn't recommend this unless I worked with someone individually and knew everything that was going on, okay? But this is a vaginal weight. This is the first level. It's really light. It weighs like a little more than a tampon, okay? And it weighs like a few grams. I don't remember the exact amount. You put this in the vagina, and your vagina should hold it up without it dropping. Okay, so if that person that has a prolapse, if you were to wear this, think about it, if you were to wear this and walk around, it shouldn't fall out. If you put this in and it slips out, then your muscles aren't doing their job of holding and closing. And so that would be an indication that it might not be good to lift weights. Now, say you're wearing this and you're doing fine, and then you squat a few pounds and it's fine, but then you go and you squat a lot more weight and boom, you push it out and it just falls out. This is a great feedback that you just generated too much intra-abdominal pressure and you bore down, you bared down, and this will come out, and then you'll know what's going on intravaginally. Okay. When I work with people to know for a specific woman and a specific exercise, we kind of want to know what's going on vaginally. This is one way of knowing. I'll put a finger vaginally to feel what's going on with the muscles. So we kind of could really get into monitoring how you're doing. And those are just some general things to help you out. Let me make sure I answered all these questions here. Let's see. I've been working hard to get back to running. I hope I'll be able to start weights again. Is there anything I should consider before starting lower body? Okay, so the person that wrote me that, I won't say your name for privacy, but if you have any other questions regarding prolapse and running, reach out, because that's another huge topic. We can go in a lot of directions there, okay? So I think that is about it for today. I see I've got a few of you on. I'm going to stay on for just a minute here and see if you have any more questions for me. There's a little bit of a delay where if you write to me, it takes a few seconds for me to see it show up here. If you guys feel like you're all good and I answered your questions, you could be like, all good. You could let me know if there's something you want me to discuss next time. So today's Tuesday. I'm going to see you guys Thursday at 12. And we're going to keep building this exercise program. We're going to do this basic 4 in different positions. I'm going to keep taking you through the running protocol. And we're kind of building towards that. Cool, you're all good. Okay, good, Jessica. We're building towards what we call the playground series, which means do the exercises at the playground. And this is why I did some recording for you. Like I was camping this weekend and I recorded me doing the exercises. I get it, like you guys, it's really hard to make the time to exercise and we're watching your kids. I am in the exact same boat as you, and I just do my exercises whenever I can. It could be at the playground or my backyard. I'm just that crazy person at the playground, like doing squats and stuff, because that's the only way sometimes that I could do it. Okay. All right. I think you guys are good. We're 27 minutes, so I wanted to keep this under 30. So I think I'm gonna log off and leave any comments under the live if you guys have any other comments for me. And I look forward to seeing you later this week. Bye-bye.